No,
Yeah.
definitely. And you talk about your parents, and I like the fact that you talk about purpose,
Yeah.
and this is what this podcast is about: divine
Mhm.
purpose. Try to help people to understand and to embrace their purpose. So let's talk about your parents. So can you talk more? I know you said, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. So my father, Emilio Lormil, he is from Ansdino, south,
Okay.
deep south part of Haiti.
Yep.
My mom is from Gonaive. And
Wow.
yeah, that's completely opposite sides of
Opposite side.
Italy. Yeah, they met while they were teaching in school, and they have a whole love story themselves. It's not enough time to explain, but one thing that I can honestly say about them is they're very supportive, um, very respectful people. Raised myself and my siblings in a way where I'm in my adult years, I could understand all of the strict ways of raising children, why it was the way it was. Some of it was a little bit extra, but I do understand. Um, and they have a very unique way of loving on their children. And the biggest thing I draw from them as my parents is service, what it means to serve.
Wow.
You know, as a young child, I've seen my parents serve their community, their families, each other, our siblings, my siblings. And it really has been an example on my life. And it doesn't really, now that I'm blossoming and I'm really understanding who I am, service, I understand where I get that passion to serve from folks that have taught me to serve. You don't serve to receive, you serve to give.
Yep.
You serve to give. So they are truthfully, I would say, one of my biggest supporters and also my biggest critics.
No, definitely they will.
Yeah,
They will be.
they don't, they don't
We're
hold
talking
back.
about Haitian parents
Yeah,
now.
I know, man. But you know what's funny? I mean, they're very critical in certain ways, but
Yes.
I be hearing stories, and I'm like, ooh, that's harsh. You know, I'm fortunate because they were strict, but they weren't like harsh. You know what I mean?
Like you
But
said, they were strict and fair.
they were strict and fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yoga and justice.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, no,
yes,
definitely.
absolutely, absolutely, indeed. Yeah, but,
And then let's jump to your background
mhm,
educationally. So what can you tell about your background? What gets you there? You're now a
mm,
nurse practitioner. I
yeah.
know that wasn't just yesterday.
No, 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 no. So let me tell you. So I knew from a young age that I was going to be somewhere in the medical field. I knew it was going to be nursing, but then something happened in high school where I said, no, 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 we're not doing this. You know, my mom's a nurse, aunt's a nurse. We're not gonna go down this typical path, you know. So a lot of people say, oh, Haitian women, they're
Yes.
just nurses. And I was like, this is not gonna be for me. So
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and go to business school, and I am going to become an international businesswoman. Um, what was I going to do exactly? I had no idea, but I just needed something that was completely far off, and also removed, obviously, right? Because international, you know, you're traveling.
Oh, yeah.
I'm out. Like I'm not staying here. Gone. So it ended up being an epic failure. My first year of heights of college, I was at Johnson and Wales University in Rhode Island. Everybody thought I wanted to go into culinary. No, they do have a business school, and that's where I went, and that's where I failed. And hindsight is 2020, right? So when in the moments that I was failing, I thought life was over. Like, oh my goodness, I started college, I'm failing. And then the critics, my parents, they're like, you know, you got to go to school. I don't care what you do, but you're not going to be sitting at
Yeah.
home not doing anything. You
Yeah.
know,
Cool.
education is huge. And I said to myself, you know, I think it's time to really stop running from what is calling me and nursing was it. And, I went into nursing. I transferred to Regis College.
Okay.
And it was hard, man. It was hard. It was hard stuff, but it was all worth it. So much so that I graduated in 2013. I graduated in 2011 with my bachelor's, and then went back in 2013, graduated in 2015 with my master's degree to start working as a nurse practitioner, and then went back in 2018 to start teaching. So I teach for the same place that God sent me to redeem myself.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
it's always so cool to have students. And after meeting them for a couple of weeks, and they're like, I just want to let you know that I didn't pass this class. And I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, let me tell you why. Before you report me to my director, let me tell you why this is fantastic, because I was just like you. I was here, I came in failing
You can relate to them.
school. Yeah, I could relate. And then I failed a course in nursing school, my first semester. Boy, let me tell you, failures have been like my track record, and I wear them with a badge of honor, because they made me who I am. And so they would say I failed, and I have one opportunity, I can't fail anymore. And I know that pressure. I live that pressure. And it's so great to support them and remind them that between me and them, there's no difference, right? And there were folks that went before me that had the same story, and they did okay. And just reminding someone that they're going to be okay when they were under the same pressure and the same predicament that you were in is very unique. And then supporting them, my support to a student that failed versus one that is cruising through the program and doing fine, it's very different. It takes more time, a lot more grace, a lot more patience. And there's always something underlying that may be, holding them back and making them doubt their ability to succeed. So it's very interesting work, and I get to see them grow, and they graduate, and they email me, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Now that what you said is very, very touching, and you said
Mhm.
you encounter a lot of failure. Some people, they avoid failure and they wouldn't admit it.
Mhm.
Like, can you touch a little bit about it?
Yeah.
About
So
failure?
failure is good. Failure doesn't feel good, but failure is good.
Hey.
Um, I I I I look at, the world that we live in right now, and, social media, and, everybody, what people measure as success. And a lot of these people that you see being successful in their own right? They've failed multiple times. And for me, I feel like it is my duty to share my failure, or that I've failed multiple times, because what you see is not what really that runs through other people's minds, right? Man, if I could just get there. Man, if I could just do this. And yeah, you will, but you will have some detours. But I always say failure is good. Failure is so good because it teaches you things about yourself. Um, you know, when I failed my first nursing course at Regis, when I transferred, um, what I learned was that I don't really have the ability to be working the many hours that I was working and trying to go to school.
Oh, wow.
Of course, my biggest supporters and critics, i.e., my parents, they told me, they're like, leave that babysitting job alone, Brenda. You're okay. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this. I got into the school. I'm in a nursing program, and it was an epic failure. I learned that I should probably learn how to balance life a little bit better.
Okay.
Um, and I think also what I've learned about failure is that some failures, they linger. Um,
Mm.
the bitterness of a failed project, failed relationship, failed journey, whatever it may be, it can linger. And for me, it lingered because I was also an RA, a resident assistant. And so I had students on my floor that I used to look after. And the first part of the school year in the fall, I was in my nursing courses, and then when I failed in the spring, I couldn't take any nursing courses at all. I had to wait a whole semester and then retake that course in the following fall,
Yeah.
the next academic school year. And so in the spring, I ended up in classes with some of my residents. And
Oh.
what are you doing
Oh
here?
no.
Program?
Yeah.
The first couple of times, forget the first couple of months, it
Yeah.
was
It was
just,
hard.
I had to find, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm actually taking another route. And then I like made up all of these excuses to
Yeah.
validate a failure that I was afraid to talk about.
Wow.
And it lingered. And that semester could not end any quicker. I said, I can't face these students. I just can't. Like, these teachers obviously don't know me. These instructors don't know me because this is not the track. I was like taking all of my electives at the time. But it was my residents that knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. But then when they saw me on a path that didn't reflect what I was supposed to be doing, it looked awkward. And so, what I learned after that is that some failure, the residue of the failure, it lingers.
Yes.
It does linger. And it lingers, but what do we do about it? Mine lingered and I was still running. For a while, I still didn't accept it.
Oh, wow.
And for a while, I
Yeah,
was their resident assistant, but I couldn't even lead them because I was running from my own failure. And looking back, I'm like, wow, that was an opportunity, Brenda, to have that conversation. But, I wasn't as mature. I think I was 21 at the time,
okay.
20, 21, not understanding. But now I look at failure as an opportunity, even when it lingers, right? Even when it doesn't feel good a week later, a month later, a year later,
Yep.
years later. But what's the opportunity? What is the conversation you need to have with yourself first, right? Or others, right? What is that failure still teaching you?
Yep.
Evidently, it's still teaching you, right? Because it's lingering. The effects of it is lingering. Is it teaching you that there's a conversation that you should have had? Is it lingering because it's teaching you that there's something that you didn't learn in that situation? Is it lingering because it's telling you, well, maybe you need to get a counseling about it? Is it lingering because you have regret? Like, why does that failed moment linger?
I think you're really a good teacher because you're teaching me now. Because I had some failures too, but one thing I realized that you have to face it.
Yeah, boy, you gotta face it. You gotta face it.
Admit what you didn't do right.
Yep.
And that's where the lesson gonna come.
Right.
And that's the same way with your relationship with anything, spiritually, educationally, professionally. Yes, there will be failure, but what do you do after this?
Right.
Do you stay down or you get up?
Right.
And I think you get up. Right? Yeah, you get up.
It can still linger, but what do you do about that?
Yeah, definitely.
You only learn in failure. Like, you only grow in failure. All the positives come from the negative. It's crazy.